it causes the downward spiral that leads to the duel and his death. Not to be a spoiler, but I think most of you have seen this. Hi guys, this is Dale Vandersand, musical theater coach, here to discuss the song Satisfied from Hamilton. Welcome Hamilton fans. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the songs in Hamilton. However, as one of my students wanted to cover the song, I said, well, what part are you going to do? Because the sheet music is 15 pages long and there's a lot going on. It's not just one voice singing. So I want to point out that this isn't a song. This is, in musical theater, of course, we have scenes and songs. Sometimes they're set songs. But with Hamilton, the songs kind of go in and out, right? But Satisfied, that's what in the opera world we call scena, a scene, the Italian word for scene. So it's a scene going on with dialogue that's sung, very much like opera. In fact, I've heard Hamilton called a hip-opera, which is very cute. Let's look at the framework. In fact, the word frame makes a lot of sense because in literature, a frame story is one that lies outside either end of a center story, a middle part, often with a narrator opening and closing the story and telling the middle as a flashback or something like that, which is kind of the case here. So without any delay, let's look at the scene itself.
A toast to the groom, to the groom, to the groom, to the groom, to the bride, to the bride, to the bride. From your sister, Angelica, is always by your side. To your union, to the revolution, and the hope that you provide.
Okay, so she's giving a toast and she says, to your union, and the chorus, the ensemble, says to the union, to the revolution. So what does this have to do with the idea of satisfied? Again, this part here is still part of that frame story, still part of the outer world of what we're receiving in this scene. So we get the world of colonial America being dissatisfied with their situation, wanting to form their own union, a more perfect union than the monarchy that they're under. According to Lynn, he looks at helpless and satisfied as kind of two really important themes for the entire show. It kind of parallels Hamilton and Burr. One of them is satisfied, the other one is helpless. Which is which? Perhaps the question is what he wants us to ponder. However, we're just going to look at satisfied in this. We're entering the world of Angelica. Have the chorus say rewind. So in a way, the chorus steps out of their role of wedding participants and they become like an echo or a Greek chorus in some ways. Sometimes they're commenting and sometimes they're acting. That beginning music, bum, 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 that little piano lick, it's like memory music. So it's interesting, to see how the music itself will dovetail into the story that's being told.
Remember that night, I just might regret that night for the rest of my days. I have never been the same. Intelligent eyes in a hunger pang frame.
That's interesting because we know the Schuyler sisters are well-bred. They are the gentry of colonial America, of New York, the always been the financial capital of America. So we get this well-bred woman who is really attracted to this hunger-panged, framed man. Remember, Hamilton's upbringing was meager, was raised more wild, and not of the fine breeding that he aspires to. So he's been dissatisfied with his situation in life, and she's dissatisfied because she doesn't fit her particular role either in life. She is the eldest sister. She's going to have to be the social climber, as she says, because that's what's expected of her. She doesn't have brothers in this story, although in real life they did have brothers. He has a huge ladder to climb to be able to get to marry a Schuyler sister.
And when you said hi, I forgot my I'm sure I don't know what you mean. You forget yourself.
You're like me, I'm never satisfied.
Is that right?
I've never been satisfied.
So Hamilton comes up to her, and one of the first words he says to her is, "You look like a woman who's never been satisfied." So he introduces the idea to her, and she says, "Excuse me, but you forget yourself." Again, looks like we're talking stations in life, the status of their social status. So I think there's a double entendre here as well. Perhaps there's a sexual connotation there because of this attraction, and because it kind of sets him up too for the whole story later on that we get, not to be a spoiler, but I think most of you have seen this, that he then cheats on Eliza, and that becomes one of his downfalls as a prominent man in society. His position in society is pretty tentative. So when this all happens, it causes the downward spiral that leads to the duel and his death. Spoiler.
My name is Angelica Schuyler.
Alexander Hamilton,
Where's your family from?
unimportant, there's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait, just you wait.
It's interesting here, he doesn't talk about his background. But in Helpless, kind of spills it out, at least in part, to Eliza, that what his story is. So with the woman he marries, he's pretty honest. With Angelica, he's not sure. He's kind of like still circling around. They're kind of two tigers circling around each other. He's not giving up too much information yet.
So this is what it feels like to match with someone at your level. What the hell is the catch? It's the feeling of freedom of seeing the light. It's Ben Franklin with the key and a kite. You see it right. The conversation lasted 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Everything we said in total agreement. It's agreement. It's a bit of a dance, a bit of a posture. It's a bit of a stance.
It's like her mind is shooting a mile a minute. The words just spill out, and it's this emotional pouring out. Shows her character, shows that her mind is really sharp. And that's what she's saying here. I've just met somebody whose mind matches mine, because she knows she's smart. Just completely blown her away. Yet, she knows she can't have him.
He's a bit of a flirt, but I'ma give it a chance. I asked about his family, did you see his answer? His hands started fidgeting, he looked askance. He's penniless, he's flying by the seat of his pants. Handsome boy, does he know it? Peach fuzz, and he can't even grow it. We want to take him far away from this place.
There's another thought too. She says he's penniless, he's flying by the seat of his pants. She gets it. She gets him. So she's an outcast in some way. Which is not really that socially outcast, but she feels like she's an outsider to her own world. And another interesting aspect of their relating like this is that, and in the world of colonial America, on the verge of a revolution to form a democracy, this is very democratic. In London, at the time especially, you would not mix social classes. That's a little bit true today. Royalty is separate. But now in America, we're modern. We're different. We're setting up a whole different democratic way of life. At least we're going to be. Here's one little element that shows us how the revolution that the ensemble sings in the beginning of Satisfied and this love story that's a non-love story, this attraction story, kind of dovetails and comes together.
I turn and see my sister's face, and she is helpless. And I realize 3 fundamental truths at the exact same time.
At this point, Angelica looks over at Eliza and says, I look at my sister's face, and she is helpless, comes back into this. So that's her theme. That's Eliza's theme. But it also shows us that Angelica now has a responsibility, and being the oldest sister, she would be the most responsible. She needs to take care of her sister, and that's what's important. So we know that the attraction will probably not lead anywhere. And then she says, I realize 3 fundamental truths at the exact same time. The chorus sings it with her, or they sing it for her, I think.
Number 1. I'm a girl in a world in which my only job is to marry rich. My father has no son, so I'm the one who has the social glide for one. In New York City is, and city is.
Society is going to talk. Society is insidious in New York. Everybody's gossiping. So you have to be really careful every moment that you're out in society.
Number 2. He's after me because I'm a Schuyler sister that elevates his satisfied. Have to be naive to set that aside. Maybe that is why.
The second realization she has is that he's social climbing. So she knows she has to, as I said, and she realizes now that he has to.
Thank you for all your service.
If it takes fighting a war for us to meet, it will have been worth it.
I'll leave you to it.
Angelica and Eliza are 2 very different personalities. Angelica is very heady, and Eliza is all about the heart. If you know the story Sense and Sensibility, it's very similar. We have sense from Angelica, we have sensibility from Eliza.
Number 3. I know my sister like I know my own mind. You will never find anyone as trusting or as kind. If I tell her that I love him, she'd be silently resigned. He'd be mine.
Here's another clue to characterization. We have in the realization number 3, we have Angelica saying, I know my sister like I know my own mind. That's her priority. She's about her mind. And that's what she's after when she comes to New York and she says, I'm looking for a man with a mind. These little interjections that repeat and repeat really tell you who the character is. And sometimes you find out through another character. So she's talking to us about Eliza. Eliza may not tell you, I am all about my heart. But Angelica is telling you, Eliza's all about her heart.
But when I fantasize at night, it's Alexander's eyes as I romanticize what might have been if I hadn't sized him up so quickly.
So she regrets sizing him up so quickly. Again, her mind races too fast. She forgets her own heart. There's another thing at play here too. The typical opposites attract, so they're maybe too similar to be together. And maybe Hamilton needs to ground himself a little bit, so Eliza helps do that for him, whereas Angelica and he, if they were together, they would be flying off the walls all the time.
At least my dear Eliza's his wife. At least I keep his eyes in my life.
And finally we get resolution. At least I'll keep his eyes in my life. So she's determined and she's reconciled with herself. She also understands the ramifications of stepping outside of that for her world. Right after she makes a resolution, we come out of the rewind and go back into the end of the frame story, the wedding celebration. So let's see how this resolves.
He will never be satisfied. I will never be satisfied.
Okay, so it ends with the toast. May you always be satisfied. And then she says, I will never be satisfied, accepting the fact that he read her. He could see through her, and that was new for her. And she can't have him, so she will never be satisfied. And in bringing all this home, it makes it a very satisfying song. Scene. Not a song. So next time you talk about satisfied with your friends, say, oh, that's not a song. That's a scene. If you want to really impress them, say, that's a scena. The Italian word for scene. Start a conversation about this. I really am interested because another thing I wanted to mention, I'm not sure who Angelica is in the musical. Yes, she was an historical character, but who is she in the musical? Why is she really there? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, except to be a parallel in these themes. Her story kind of ends here, and we don't get much else throughout the rest of the play from her. So that's a little bit unsatisfying to me. However, good work, Lynn, and I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Satisfied. So thank you for tuning in. Please check out my other videos here on the channel. If you like this video, please click on subscribe, click on the bell for notifications, ding, and leave a comment down below. Do you have any thoughts about what this song is about or how it affects you? I'm pretty much just starting the channel right now, so join me on my journey and we'll look at musical theater, we'll look at pop songs, and a whole lot more. Thanks for watching. Take care, be safe, keep music in your heart, and until the next time, this is Dale Vandersand, musical theater coach, signing off. Ciao for now.